Hello everyone, it's so nice to see so many of you joining us today for the new update preview live stream. It's awesome to have you, Viotir92, Easternin, Ron Empire, hello, Jom Art, Kurpios, hi, my dear co-workers, good to see you watching Twitch instead of working. Technicians, hi, hello everyone, and also, thank you everyone for following us on Twitch and on YouTube, wherever. Archivion, The14, Niklaus B, and everyone who followed us recently. So we are here today to present you the upcoming features of tomorrow's Hauler Station update. This will be a bit smaller update, or maybe not. We have two new buildings, Hauler Station, which we'll show you in a second. My name is Łukasz, I'm Eremite Games Community Manager. You can know me as Luke on Discord or Steam, wherever you prefer to chat about Against the Storm. And I'm here with Aaron, our producer.
Hi everyone.
So, shall we begin, Aaron?
Yeah, let's start. So yeah, as Luke mentioned, this is a smaller update. We're hot off the heels.
Gotta interrupt you. So before we started streaming, Aaron was like, okay, you know, I'm gonna grab my favorite Gothic mug and we'll see how fast they're gonna recognize it. And yeah, Białko immediately spotted the Gothic mug.
Nice.
Yeah, Aaron is a huge Gothic fan. And we have a small company feud between Aaron, who prefers Gothic, and Michał, who prefers Morrowind. It's like two big RPG games here in Poland in early 2000s, and so we are always arguing which one is better. We both agree it's Gothic, but
wait, do you agree it's Gothic?
Yeah, of course.
You sound differently when Telhurin is around. Yeah. Of course, Gothic is better. And the first part, not the second one. The second is also great. No, but about the update. So let's not stir any controversy here. This is going to be a smaller update because, we're hot off the heels from the Sealed Forest update. It was a pretty big update, one of the biggest we had. So right now we're going to slow things down a bit and introduce something new, something small that will hopefully change the game for the better. And as Luke said, it's the Hauler Station update. So Hauler Station, it's something the players asked for a long time on upvote, which was that some different way of managing logistical chains in the game. I'm gonna start a quick game here somewhere. No, never mind. It's gonna be a settler game that doesn't. Okay, we're just gonna take too much. I'm gonna take something like that and start a game. So Hauler Station is a new type of building. We have two Hauler Stations in the game. What does this building do? It's basically something where you assign your workers to, and they help you with carrying goods around the settlement. So dedicated carriers, so to speak. This building is, there are two types of Hauler Stations in the game. So it's the small and the big one. The small one is can be found in glades, mostly in small glades, but sometimes in the big ones. And the big Hauler Station is a blueprint choice you can pick here. You're gonna try to find it. Okay, never mind, there's not here. Okay, advanced Raincatcher again. But I'm gonna try to
2 minutes into the game and already cheating.
Yep. Maybe we're gonna be lucky enough to get it some rerolls. Here it is, big Hauler Station. So yeah, it's a building that is drafted. It's not essential, and that's because this mechanic isn't really something that your city will depend on all the time. It's mostly like another tool of boosting your productivity. We're gonna see how it works in the game, how it fits into the balance. It might be something that you would use in some industry-heavy builds in the future. So, the cost of the building, the availability of it can change in the future. But for now, it's it's 2 ways of acquiring it. It's also sold by traders. It takes parts.
So what's the cost of building a big power station?
It's 4 planks, 4 bricks, and 2 parts. This is, of course, balance things are always subject to change. So if it's too hard to come by, then we're gonna just rebalance it. So you can see here, this is the big hauler station. It has like this small description. Oh, here's another change in this update. The move button was moved to a different place. It was a bit distracting here. We moved it to a different section. And so here it is. Human's gonna build it. And there it is, a small card. Here you can assign haulers basically. So let's assign.
By the way, I already see some questions in the chat.
Yeah,
we will try to answer them on the go if they are on the topic. If they are not on the topic, I will keep them for the end of the stream, and we'll have some short Q&A session. So questions like, what do we think about the new Unity pricing policy? And and all those kind of questions, we'll answer them later. And
these questions will be at the end. The most spicy things about Unity at the end.
But there's one we can answer already. If villagers finish the Glade event and they are still carrying goods to the warehouse, are they still working on the event? Yes, they are still considered as working on the event. It's against the storm made in Unity. Yes,
it is. So let's just simply finish this topic with the hauler station. So as you can see here, there's this UI for it. The haulers are assigned here. They're already working. And here you can see the typical effects and upgrades. So we have the Harpy Hearth Keeper, so Firekeeper. So we got this bonus for carrying capacity. It's also for haulers, so it's listed here. And here you can see the things the haulers are transporting. So they carry ingredients to the crude workstation, and they carry produced goods from the woodcutter's camp and the crude workstation. So how this works is that they take goods from, for example, the woodcutter's camps, and they take it to the storage or take them to the workshop, for example, here on the crude workstation. And they, of course, so they supply production buildings with ingredients, and they take the produced goods and take them away. So it's basically like having additional workers for your buildings, but they only do carrying basically. And they, of course, have a small, well, not a small, but they have a limited range for how they work, where they work. So for example, here you can see those dots connected to those 3 buildings. If I take the crude workstation a bit further, they won't carry that. So you're gonna have to, for example, build another carrying station, another hauling station here, for example, or try to fit everything around it in your city. So yeah, that's, I have too many carriers, and they're already running out of things to do. So I may limit that a bit. So yeah, so that's the main highlight. It's movable at the cost of 5 wood. Which is again like a small cost, but we'll see about how it fits into the balance. If that's too much, we'll just change that. But in the end, I think that's standard cost for some houses. I think shelters have 5 also, so it's something that isn't that much after you get your economy rolling. And this building is mostly offered as mid blueprints, so it's somewhere in the range of like the mid game. Also, it comes from exploration, so it's not really an early game building. So by the time you have it built, you should already have enough wood to cover the cost freely at the same point. But there was one more thing about that. I forgot what I wanted to say. Never mind. That's gonna probably be. When it's unlocked, it's we changed some of the level up rewards in the game. So the hauling station is unlocked at level 12. and we moved one perk, the Ridge Glades perk, which increases node deposit charges to level 2, basically. So it's another bonus for early levels to make the game a bit more, a bit easier or a bit more manageable for beginners. And the hauling station takes the place of that perk in the meta. So I'll just how I yes. Preferences, no. Right now, there is no specialization for that building because no species really fits the description when it comes to specialization. But in the future, maybe when there's something else there that that can have a specialization, maybe. But for now, no. It's without a specialization. Oh, prioritization. When it comes to prioritization, the haulers basically prioritize something that is closer to them. So distance and then what is available. But I think Telhurin is in the chat. He can correct me if I'm on that because I'm not into the technical stuff. Yeah, for now, in this update, no. We just wanna, get the building there and see how it works, how it's how you play with it. But in the future, sure, that's something we naturally do with all new features. We introduce something, a new building, a new mechanic, and then we play around it with, for example, orders or perks or stuff like that. The natural perk for this building would be the carrying capacity. Will also probably be the walking speed of the villagers, of the carriers. But we'll see probably in the next update which upgrades or which perks will make the cut that building.
Okay, I think my audio was gone for a while, but I asked Aaron if there are going to be any perks and upgrades for the haulers station. Okay, so I will read what Telhurin, our lead programmer, says, that first they prioritize ingredients over storage, then they will prioritize buildings closest to a specific worker.
Yeah.
Okie dokie. Another question. Will haulers work with reward crates as well for delivery?
You mean events?
Yeah, events. So crates caches as part of events. So probably the question is about events in general.
No, they don't touch events for now. I mean, not for now. It's basically they only work with production build and with camps and so on. So yeah, there is some I think on Upvote some request for prioritization of caches and so on and the rewards from events. So, but that's a different UI and UX problem for us to solve in the future. So I'm just playing around here with the game, so I might go on with some other changes with this update. So this is the main thing. I'm just trying to see if we can get to the small version, so find it somewhere on a glade of the hauler building. And in the meantime, I think we should talk about some UI UX, because beside this building, this new type of building and this mechanic of hauling resources, we also have some pretty highly requested UI changes. Oh, before we move on to UI, there's also one change in the meta, and it's tied to UI in a way, but we don't have a mine here, so I can't show you this. But I can go on and show you this in the Citadel. So let's just abandon this, and let's just go to the smoldering city. So, as you know, or you might not know, mines are upgradable in the game, and for the longest time there was an issue with players not really knowing that mines are upgradable, and you know the UI of mines wasn't really helping with that. When you depleted a node, the alert said it depletes a node, and then you didn't know why. It still stayed on the map. It stayed because it could be upgraded, so nobody really knew that. I mean, not many people knew that. So now, to help with that, we wanted to introduce mine upgrades as an upgrade in the Smoldering City. It's pretty low down here, so it's not like you lose it for an extended time. But it's our reasoning is that if you have the conscious decision of buying this upgrade here, and then you go into the game and play around with the mine, you will probably see why some resources stay on the map. So it's a completely new step. There was like an empty space here before. So, you know, you get another production speed increase bonus, so 2% more than in the previous version of the game. Plus you get this here. You might, of course, due to that change, lose the top upgrade here on your save, so be sure to, you know, check it and rebuy it. But that's, you know, that's natural with this sort of changes. We also, for this mine, changed another thing. If you don't have the upgrade and you deplete a resource node, the alert will say that you depleted the resource node and the only thing left to do is basically to destroy the mine and build it on a different glade. But if you have the upgrade bought and you can upgrade the mine, the alert will tell you that the mine is upgradable, please upgrade it to access more ore. And we also changed the tooltip for ore in the game, so it now shows all the charges with upgrades. So you deplete the first 30, you have like 90 out of 120 left. So the tooltip says the total amount, but you can't like dig up more, you have to upgrade the mine basically. So it's all small changes to make it more readable, to make the system more understandable. One thing that you may have also noticed here when I was opening the upgrade window is that it automatically scrolled up the top row. It was also one of the most requested things, a small thing, but so that the upgrade window scrolls to the point where you have your last upgrade bought. So now it won't open on the bottom, it will automatically scroll up to the things you have bought.
This is very cool.
Yeah. Yeah, so other than that, let's move on to some UX changes. Maybe there are some questions. Luke, you can answer them, and I'm just going to check my notes.
Yeah, so for example, will there be an auto-destroy mine in the future? We'll see. For now, we don't have such plans. Of course, it would be super convenient if you use all the charges, and so the mine destroys itself. It's kind of like a Mission Impossible. The mine will self-destruct in 5 seconds. But for now, no specific plans for that. But yeah, would be super useful.
Yeah. Yeah, the change with auto-destruct mine is it's another change to automate some parts of the game, and I think for now we'll mostly focus on other stuff that, you know, changes or improves the gameplay. But yeah, we had some requests for more stuff that is being done automatically for the player, and sometimes it's reasonable because, you know, some actions are done so often that you just want to automate them. But sometimes we're hesitant to add that because, you know, we wanna you don't want to automate too much.
Yeah,
of the game.
at some point the game would play itself. And
yeah. So it's always like a bit of you have to talk about this on the team before we give you a concrete answer. Okay, another UI UX change is I started a prestige game on this save. This is the first prestige game for this save file. And you can see on the right there is a new prestige in the altar notification. It's a new wiki article for you veterans out there. It's probably nothing really exciting, but for people who start the prestige game for the first time, I think Ron suggested that at some point, that, you know, you want to learn what prestige and the altar, what they do, what's it all about. So There's a small wiki article about that, so you can, learn a bit more when you start climbing prestige. If you don't get the alert, you can always go into the encyclopedia and look for it somewhere here and just read about those systems. So it's always something for newer players to get into and learn more about the game. Yeah. Oh, before I move on with UX, I'm just jumping around the place, sorry about that. But before we move on to UX and more UX changes, there's also some balance changes in this update. Not too many, but some. One of them is some people noticed that the Essence of Corruption objective in the Sealed Forest for the Essence of Corruption, basically, this is the objective that requires you to use water and burn down cysts. That the water usage is retroactive and the cysts are not. So we changed that. Now the burning cysts part is basically retroactive. We increased the numbers slightly to account for that this is now retroactive. But this whole objective should be a bit more reasonable right now. You can finish it with some. If you burned some cysts before reaching it, you can now finish it a bit easier. And the other UI change, the balance change, aside from the unlocks and from the upgrades I talked earlier, is that somebody noticed, and I don't know how that slipped our attention before, but the Cursed Royal Woodlands for the longest time had the same trade routes as the normal Royal Woodlands. So when you finished a town there, the offered goods by that town were the desired goods were the same as the Royal Woodlands. So we changed that, and now the Cursed Royal Woodlands have like their own version of trade routes, so they ask for different things than they did before. Yeah, and maybe we should go on with UX for some questions.
Yeah. There are some cool UX stuff. For example, the one with Glade events. I don't know if.
Oh yeah, let's move on to that.
Or did you mention the tags below building names?
Wait, I'm gonna just mark some glades here, and maybe we can show this one change. I'm gonna do this and more RPC.
We created a little suspense, mentioned two things, and then proceeded to mark 3.
Yeah, and not talk about it anymore. So you might have noticed that buildings now have this small tag beneath them, this label based. So the hearth, ancient hearth, is of the type hearth, which isn't surprising at all. Woodcutter's camp is of the type woodcutter's camp. Like main warehouse is storage building, and so on. That might seem like not really a big change, but to some extent it is. So now it's there for two reasons. For normal buildings is because we wanted to show the players that, listen up, this is the gathering building. So effects from, for example, glade events that decrease the speed of all gathering buildings will also influence this, because this has a gathering camp tag. So, you can always see what an effect does and then compare it with some labels and you understand it a bit better. The other thing is that for glade events, we have a different approach, and we have those tags for glade events, which also serves the purpose of informing you as the player that, listen up, this is a glade event, you're gonna see them in a while. This is a glade event, this is a dangerous glade event, this is a forbidden glade event. Because for some perks that's important, for some orders that's important to know if this something is forbidden or dangerous, or if it's a cache, or if it's an encampment, and so on. Or ruin, and so on and so on. So, but with events, we also changed how you cycle through them using the arrows. So now when you have cache, and I don't have any cache. When you have a cache, you can cycle through caches of different sizes. Let's open this one. I'm using debugs. Okay, these are the same size. But for example, you can see here, Harmony Spirit Altar. It's a dangerous glade event. I have 1 and 2 dangerous glade events. So So I can cycle between them now. I don't need to cycle between the same names, basically. I just cycled through the tags. Here we have the blood flower. It's also a medium cache, so it's not gonna show you what I mean. But, oh, here is a big cache, for example. A large abandoned cache. So you can cycle between different caches or using the arrow keys. And the camera will just move through them. You don't have to. So you can, you know, from one cache, you can compare with all the other caches in the game and make a decision. Yeah, so that's, I think, a pretty cool change. What else? What else?
Some smaller ones. And there was a request for the perpendicular camera.
Oh, yeah.
So this is like before the camera was never like perpendicular.
Yeah, it's basically you have an isometric view here. It's not really isometric, but you get what I mean.
Specific angle.
It's an angle. It's always when you press H to reset the camera, it's always like this angled view because we like that. But some people like a very straight on like angle where it's like almost with the grid. So we just gave it.
And it's almost impossible to do it with Q and E
so
buttons.
We added an option for that. It's not perfect because the game has basically 3D perspective, so the lines here don't align perfectly. It's not like a top-down view of the straight lines. But if you really like your camera being super in front facing, then feel free to do that. If you ever change the angle, you can just press H, reset the camera. Or if you don't like it, you can just disable it here and go back to the normal view. Just so, for your convenience. Wait a second, what's happening?
SimCity 1 mode.
Wait. Uh-oh, it's my keyboard again.
Oh, so we have a very specific keyboard. We have a very specific keyboard that has this option to record macros, and sometimes when you accidentally press this key, all the macro will be recorded and played by itself, and I think this is what happened now. The macro recorded some action and played some action.
Yeah. I'm still trying to figure out this keyboard, so we'll see. Let's move on. Let's not talk about my keyboard.
Nice keyboard.
And some of you will be happy to learn that one other change is that some time ago we added those deletion confirms to, let's find someone. Every time you try to even delete the most cheap building, the woodcutter's camp, it always asks you if you want to do that. You can just hold shift to not ask you that again. But this thing was never a thing with decorations. But sometimes it happens that you delete a decoration by mistake, so we added this confirmation button to decorations. If you don't want to see that, just hold shift when deleting it. That's gonna be it. That's one thing. Other stuff on the world map, I can't show you this right now, but we changed some wording around. Some of you noticed that, for example, the events with reserve embarkation points, the wording was not really clear how you get those embarkation points, that they are not for the entire cycle, they are just one-time reserve embarkation points, basically. We changed that wording there. There are some also small changes to wording, for example, in the options, when you can set one specific option to order recipes by priority. So we added this, and fuel. This option basically changes that if you, for example, select higher priority for sea marrow, it will jump to the front. And the same is with options in production buildings. And you can disable that, so we changed that to be more clear in the options menu. And there was quite a lot of localization changes, especially for simplified Chinese. A lot of typos and inconsistencies fixed. So you might be happy to learn that the game is a bit more typo free now. What else? Looking at my notes here.
Did we mention all the changes to our depleted alerts?
Yeah, that was the thing I was talking about earlier about the mine. So when ore is depleted, you can't upgrade it. Yeah.
Oh, some cool Steam Deck UI improvements.
Oh yeah, right. So for those of you who are playing on Steam Deck, we're slowly trying to go to verified. It's a slow process, but in this update we changed some stuff around with the UI. So for example, here in the hearth you can see that there is no a hearth upgrade panel down here. It's a different tab right now because this panel was so big, and especially on Max UI on Steam Deck it was unreadable. So we changed that, so now it has a bit more breathing room, and we can change that. You can just simply see the upgrades here. We also changed some stuff on the HUD for smaller resolutions, 16 by 10 on Steam Deck.
So as we mentioned on the roadmap, we are aiming to have Against the Storm a Steam Deck verified. So Steam Deck verified is a special set of conditions that need to be met to get this special Steam Deck verified badge from Valve. So among the requirements, there's, for example, font height requirement. I mean, it's in pixels. I think it needs to be like 9 pixels.
Yeah,
something like that. So we are making all those changes that are required to get the Steam Deck verified badge. And in this update, there's like a particularly large number of improvements related to Steam Deck. There was some UI elements were obstructed by other UI elements, and now this shouldn't happen anymore on the Max UI side of the deck. So yeah.
Yeah, same thing with, for example, text boxes. Somebody noticed that harpies are not happy because we opened like so many glades, and events are triggering abilities out of control. But the Steam Deck also we also added some like if you click a text box on the Steam Deck, I don't have any text box here for any limit with the production building. So if you click that here on Steam Deck, it'll just invoke your keyboard right away, and so on and so on. We're gonna improve the UI for Steam Deck even further in the future, but for now, that should make playing on Steam Deck a lot easier. What else?
What else?
Oh, one thing.
New sounds. Some new sounds.
Some new sound effects, of course, for the Forsaken Altar, for some other places in the game. I don't remember exactly which these were, but one thing that you might appreciate when you play sealed games is, let me just go to a seal. Using some.
Oh yeah, and I'm not sure if we mentioned that, but on the world map, you were able to see some missing keys name here.
Yeah, it's because
we are adding new town names.
Yeah,
that will be localized into all supported languages.
Exactly. So we added the sealed forest a while ago, and let's just find the seal here. But there is still some things missing from it, namely the like a custom, for example, dialogue when you finish the game, when you finally win the game. For example, that's something we didn't have. So now when you win the game, let's just win the game. Let's just spoil the fun for
you. It's a little spoiler if you haven't finished Seal yet. Love this animation.
So now you will get a custom message here about a thing that's going on. And the same, there will be a custom message for losing a seal, of course. There is also a custom message when you get rewards from the seal keeper for acquiring one part. You will get a new epic cornerstone, basically. So the NPC there was still the Queen's Envoy. So now we changed that. The seal keeper talks to you then in this window and gives you your reward. Yeah, and what else is? I think that's almost everything. There's a lot of more changes, but we updated some wiki entries.
Okay. Yeah. So let's move on to the questions. I have like a dozen of those.
Yeah.
Let's start with the latest one from Vyotir. Are you planning to smoothen the autosave a bit? It feels dirty, as if the game had a huge lag spike. So from what I remember, and you can correct me, Aaron or Michał, I think the screen goes a little bit gray, and there's this autosave. We added it because otherwise it looked like the game lagged or had because it needs to stop for a split second.
Yeah, to save your progress, basically.
And to communicate what is currently happening, we are graying out the screen for a short while, and there's autosave in the lower right corner, bottom right corner. This, I think, I'm pretty sure it could be removed, but then it would be like, okay, the game is lagging or there are some performance problems, and this is not what's happening. The game is just auto-saving, and it needs a moment to stop save.
Yeah, I mean, if this lag is like very long for you, or if it's something that just breaks the flow of the game, because normally it takes just a split second, then just let us know. Type in your, copy your save files and your log files, and you can post it on Discord for us on the box forum, or just to us directly. We will take a look at what might be happening there, because if this takes too long, then there's probably something that we can optimize, but or a bug. But if it's like just a split second, like with most cases in the game, most players, then that's just something we have to deal with. It's a technical limit.
Okay, so we'll leave the Unity question for as the last one. When can we expect Sahilda to finally get a custom portrait? There's no a specific date. Probably will happen.
Yeah, we want to do that but we have some outstanding stuff to add graphically. Daman sitting behind me is working tirelessly on some new stuff. So when he gets the option to work on portraits, he will add them. We had some concept art for Sahilda. We will do it in the future, but it's not very high on our list right now. Before we do that, I think we'll first wanna add custom illustrations to all world events, because we have some world events that are not yet illustrated. So that's gonna be the first thing. Then probably we're gonna move on to portraits. Yeah, but we'll see. It's definitely something we want to do.
Another question, a little bit related to the previous autosave question. Is it possible to set your custom path for saves? No, it's not possible. We need to choose this path, the same for everyone in Steam settings. Not possible for you to. So the Steam Cloud path directory needs to be set by us. For everyone, it will be the same, so it's not possible to change it. Will we get new world event artwork replacing the old beaver? Yes, we aim to have all the world events artwork. We want all world events to have their own custom artwork, and so this will also happen in the future. We just need to shuffle Damian's attention and and work between various graphic tasks. But yeah, I'm fairly sure it will happen in one of the upcoming apps. We will probably gradually add some new.
Yeah, it will happen in some smaller updates like this one, for example. The smaller one, so between the bigger releases, will slowly fill the gaps.
Okay. Is items priority added in the game yet? Being able to shift click each item so they are delivered first. For example, I want tablet first, but it's like 5 item slots in the crate reward. This, you know, Aaron. So yeah, this suggestion came up a few times. It's on our consideration list. Certainly, if there's time. And Tel'Hurin won't be too mad. It won't take him like...
Yeah, it's something that is not that hard to add. It just has to make our list a bit higher. So we have it on our radar, but not for this update, not for probably the next one. But yeah, we know that this is something people vote on the upvote site, so it's somewhere there in our long backlog of things.
Are there any plans about further upgrades for Hearth? The current effects are kinda meh. So this is debatable if they are really that meh or not meh. I think they're. I think the Hearth upgrades are.
For now, there are no plans for adding new upgrades. We'll see about that in the future if we wanna play around with that system a bit more. But for now, it's not really planned anywhere on our list. Maybe we should talk about because that's gonna happen in the dev notes tomorrow. But we also have some news about what's the big new thing after Sealed Forest.
Go on, you have my attention.
Yeah. So as always, I can't say too much.
Otherwise, I'll mute you.
So yeah, so see ya. No, but I can't say too much. But the next big thing, we talked about this for a few times on different streams. So after we dealt with the world map and we got it to a point where we were satisfied with that, and after we did the sealed forest, we added world events and so on, we feel that this layer of the game has become better. The main layer of the game, this city building layer, is also in a good spot in our opinion. It still has some things that should be added, like you mentioned here in the chat, like about UX changes, some balance changes. That's always gonna happen because balance is never finished, UX is never perfect, so it's always something to be added. But we wanted to focus now on something still on the meta layer of the game, but more in terms of guidance, in terms of lore. So it's gonna be enigmatically called, and I can show you here in the roadmap. It's enigmatically called guidance and lore. What is that? We wanted to create a system or different systems and ways of you to engage with the game, where it's not really all about this here. It's more of, for example, for new players or for existing players, it's more about showing them what they can do and what they should be doing. Because that's one of the issues in the game. We noticed that there are players who want a sense of direction, who want to know that there is a clear goal for them, or that there is like a path more than a goal for them. We want to show this to the players. So our next big update is gonna be about that mostly. So it's gonna be something that adds structure, adds some way of pointing you to where you should be going, that adds some guidance when you feel lost, and that also adds some lore and some world building, so that the game feels more, I don't know how to say it, but without spoiling everything.
Don't spoil everything.
Yeah.
Yauko in the chat was very excited to have more text in the game when you mentioned the altar encyclopedia notes, so Białko will be happy to have more text in the game when guidance and lore update goes live.
It's mostly because these are the two main things we wanted to add to the game right now. Because there is an issue of, for example, players not knowing that they can and should progress the difficulty of the game. Some players play settler difficulty for 50-60 hours, and quite like this is normal that they feel bored after 60 hours of playing settler. So you want to give them like a small incentive that, look, there is viceroy difficulty, there is veteran difficulty. Try it and you know, try going for a seal. And we will help you along the way. We will give you some advice along the way, and we will have some more contextual help out there. And of course, all that can be, you know, like clothed in a layer of lore and world building to make it more immersive. It's very unclear what I'm talking about here, but you're gonna see some teasers in the future. Not with this update, not in tomorrow's notes. There's just gonna be some small paragraph in tomorrow's notes about that. But in the near future, we'll share some more concept art, some more info, basically. Once we're happy with what we have, brewing in the background.
Would be cool if you add a sort of advisor that you have in other city building games as well, like your harpies are unhappy because they have no food, consider getting more. So yeah, it's going to be something similar.
Yeah, it's gonna be similar, yeah.
But not campaign mode. No. It's not going to be. Okie dokie. So, will we ever see the Queen ever? I don't know. I don't think so. But who knows?
Well, it's fun to not tell you because it sparks conversation. It's we'll see about that.
Can we
maybe in Against the Storm too.
Can we get a search button in the encyclopedia?
Oh yeah.
We also know this is a highly requested feature. It's on our consideration list, of course, and I think it's also quite high in our upvote feature request board. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, it's a public feature request board where you can share your ideas for new features or improvements, and you can also vote for other players' ideas. So if you go to feedback.eremitegames.com, able to vote and share your ideas without having to create an account. Sun is very bright.
Oh wow!
Right now, I can think about it.
I'm being taken to heaven. Yeah. What else? I think aside from all of these things we mentioned, some bug fixes always, which we're not gonna list here. We're gonna read about them tomorrow. Luke mentioned about the town names. So a small bit of story about that. When we first designed Against the Storm, when we first made it that town names, when you don't name a town in the game, it has a random name basically. And the random names were brainstormed with the community at the beginning of the project, and they were supposed to be very flavorless or not really translatable. So they had to be very vague. But after a while we thought that is just boring, and with this update we decided to create some flavorful, cool, fun little game names that will be translated into all languages. So we can see some funny names in Polish, for example.
A question related to the feature request board. Very good one. What is the sort of threshold required votes for you to take a suggestion seriously? I've submitted a few relatively simple UI UX ones, but never got above 3 votes because it's not as crazy as the lake biome. This is a very good question. And one most important thing is that you shouldn't consider your ideas not taken seriously. We not only look at the top of the list, but Aaron is also looking at the new ones that are being added. We need to check it because there are so many spam suggestions that we just need to remove. That we always look at the newest suggestions. So if you posted it, you can be sure we've seen it. So we know there's some sort of that some players are interested in getting particular feature. But for our bi-weekly meetings, we usually look at the top upvoted features.
Not always. We sometimes pick some of the lower ones because the lower ones, there are two things on upvoting. There is like the number of upvotes, and there is also the trending. So for example, if something is upvoted very it doesn't have like a lot of upvotes, but it was upvoted in the last 2 weeks, it's going to like trending. So it also tells us something about, oh, the last change to this and this caused some people to want this and this. So we also consider them. There isn't like a hard line where we say, okay, we consider everything above 50 and you don't consider anything below 50. It's all a mix of those stuff most of the time. And of course, you might feel that some of the suggestions are not taken into account because we're simply a very small team. We're 6 people. And each update is, taking a lot of those suggestions, but there are just so many of them, and we are just so few in the team that we have to pick and choose between them. So in the end,
it's not easy task because honestly, like the majority of those suggestions are great. Like, we would love to add them to the game. It's just don't always have that much time.
Yeah,
but
it's a lot of the time it's a calculation between the cost of something, the gain from it, the feasibility of implementing it, and so on. For example, a pretty easy thing to suggest is, for example, to add the purging fire recipe to the recipes tab. It's not here for some reason. And that sounds like a very easy suggestion, but at the same time, it's because the building, the blight post, is a bit of a different building than normal production buildings. So adding this recipe to the recipe tab is a very easy change on paper, but for us in the back end, it's gonna be a bit more work. So that's why we're holding off on that and implementing, for example, some other change.
Okay. Can an option to increase brightness also be added? The sealed forest is sometimes really dark. We also have seen this a couple of times, also on our list. I cannot promise that it added when added at some point.
Yeah, there's some suggestions about additional video options, and we'll consider them in the future.
While perpendicular mode, the new mode, is toggled, can you force rotation at 90-degree increments to maintain the grid-like angle? This is a very cool suggestion. It's not in this update. We will put it on our list. It will be a good addition to this.
Yeah, I think there is some pretty like a request on upvote about that. So up there we consider that, and maybe we'll add that in the future. Yeah.
Hi, something that is a little related to the camera. Sometimes I lose track of where things are on the map when you rotate the camera a lot. There are also no wind directions, northeast, southwest, that help you remember the direction of things. Might be cool to add. Indeed, might be cool to add. It's on our list now, and we'll think about it. We'll consider it. As you can see, it's only like a 1 hour long stream, and we already have like a full list of suggestions. I'm worried we won't be able to deliver like half of those timely manner. So you can only imagine how many of those suggestions are on the in-game reporter, upvote, Steam, Discord, and email. It's There's a lot. That's why upvote helps us prioritize. I already feel like the hauler building needs a priority like gathering buildings. We are really looking forward to hearing your impressions from this and all other updates. So when you get a chance to play it, let us know how you feel about it. What changed, what could be improved. Let us know on Steam, on Discord, on upvote. And as you can see, we like to read feedback, we like to receive feedback and like to do things about it. So yeah, zoom out option, also one of the most requested ones. Also not as simple as it sounds, because it needs to be tied with a heavy optimization efforts. Because zooming out just a little bit further puts a lot of stress on your hardware. So
we're gonna have to think about a way of improving the performance of the game first, and with Unity, still scratching that topic, there are some hurdles to overcome before we are ready to like improve the performance more. If you have a very powerful rig, then of course it would probably not really be something that you are concerned with. That zooming out further is gonna just increase the usage of your graphics card. But we also have like this obligation. We promised that the game was playable on like slower rigs, so that's why before we add an official feature like that, we have to test it in a bit more improved performance. It's out there. We want to improve the performance. We want to add more zoom out options, but it's still something that has to be slotted in between.
Minimap was also mentioned. Been suggested for a very long time. And it's on the consideration list. There's a question. Can you make paths actually worth building instead of the optimal way to play, being to just slam all your buildings together randomly? Thanks. Oh, so I feel you haven't read the update notes for the previous update, or maybe the change didn't do that much. But what we did is that we reduced the speed of villagers working through buildings. So now when they go through buildings, their speed decelerates. So we know that this was or is still an optimal way to put the buildings, and we tried to add some to make it less optimal way to build your city. We also like to see beautiful cities on screenshots. We also like to build beautiful cities, and if the optimal way to play is to build ugly cities, it's not we'd like to avoid that.
Yeah, we with this change, with going through buildings that's slowing down villagers, it's like a small incremental change. We try to things out before we invent a big system for roads, because we like to do things like iteratively, like small changes here and there, and look at the results. We could of course add a big system with like connecting roads to buildings and so on, but that is, I think, a very big change that would require an experimental period, or even thinking about if this fits the game. So if our small changes like the speed decrease when going through buildings aren't enough, we'll think about something in the future, for sure.
Okay, next question. We need to speed things up a little bit.
Yeah.
Is there a way to have a specific deed pinned to the screen with tick boxes similar to an order? Yes, it's already possible in the game. When you go to the deeds, you can select the checkbox, and it will then appear on the right when you press escape. And it will track the the progress of the deed.
Yeah.
Are there going to be changes to farm meta? I think Aaron mentioned today that there are going to be a lot of balance changes in updates. So we are reading through all the Steam discussions, Discord channels, and yeah, we are trying to get the feeling of how you feel about particular aspects of the game, balance aspects of the game, and then we try to do something about it. So, for example, tomorrow's update will feature, let's say, 6 or 7 balance changes, not as many as usual, but you can expect more. Certainly expect more. If you have, if you want to share your feedback, please do so on Steam, Discord, Reddit, wherever you prefer. Will there ever be more adjustable difficulty? I love playing with stronger Blight Rod, but find things like Trader screwing over to be really tedious. So the one mode with more adjustable difficulty are training expeditions. You can unlock them as one of the smoldering city upgrades, and they allow you to play custom games. Sadly, custom games do not reward you with deeds or citadel resources, because it would be really easy to abuse. But other than that, this is the best way to adjust difficulty for a game. When we next question. When we re-roll cornerstones or blueprints, very rarely exactly same options may appear. Can you remove existing options when we re-roll? So what happens is that after the first re-roll, you cannot get any of the blueprints that you had in this particular selection. When you get like 3 blueprints, decide to re-roll them. In the first reroll, you won't get any of those. Not possible. They can reappear after that. So, because the situation may change, you may change your mind, and you might need this blueprint again. Are there any plans to change the way aesthetics work? Now I only build Parks Garden to get hearth upgrades and don't pay further attention. I think Michał talks about it a lot, Telhurin, that it would be cool to have more, like to do more about decorations, but for now there's
we don't have a solid plan in place, but we all agree that we want the cities to look better, to use decorations a bit more thoughtfully. But again, that's something that we have to sit down and think about a bit more, because the game is a particular type of game, and I'm always reminded of when we tried to do houses a bit differently, when the villagers moved to houses, and because of how we did that, we couldn't really change the Did the stream drop? Or is it just my chat? Okay, never mind. If we're still online, then great. We did the housing change that would cause villagers to go into like their houses, and all other city builders, that's a normal mechanic. That makes sense. But here it was a bit too micro heavy, because the game is mostly focused around managing a whole population instead of one single villager. So with decorations, I fear that we could end up in a similar place where we do something that is typical for city builders with decorations and end up with a system that is not really that doesn't really fit to the game. So we still need time to think about that, and maybe in the future we'll come up with something that will make decorations a bit more meaningful. But for now, we're focused on all the other things that are on the roadmap, for example.
Will we be able to name our villagers? This question was repeated a couple times already, and on all the recent streams. I know, Ron, that that you'd love to name your as villagers, especially with the names of people from the Twitch chat. We also think it would be cool, and if time allows, why not? Why not add it? Okay, I think two last questions. Is there a way to add a marker over the heads of the workers when selecting the building they are working in? Probably it is possible, but the question is, why do you feel that this? Why would you like to have this change? So, because one of the main design principles for Against the Storm is to never micromanage villagers. You never select particular villager to go to the a particular building. The game itself chooses the best worker for the job. So the one that is the closest, etc., etc. I don't know exactly how it works. Michał could probably share a little bit more what exactly is taken into account. But the game chooses it for yourself so that you don't need to micromanage your villagers. And so yeah, the real question I think here is this really necessary? And if it is necessary to see what workers are in which building, then how can we avoid that? What we can do differently so that you don't need to pay attention to that. Orders and Guardian Town UI overlap. Is it possible to nudge the Twitch viewer stuff down a little? So
we fixed that in this update. There was a bug with Twitch minigame overlapping with some UI elements here. That should be fixed in it.
Okie dokie. So just one last thing. There's a comment about how villagers choose path if they need to move around.
There's a question how they do that, or how they prioritize.
So one thing it does do badly is if your settlement is horseshoe shaped, villagers can take somewhat long trips from one end to the other.
We had some plans on fixing that, but we need time to improve the pathfinding. But there is an issue like that when you, for example, have a storage here, you have some villager here, and you have a storage here. For example, and the closest would be to go to this one, and instead they go this way because they think it's closer here. We had some plans on fixing that, probably fix that in the future. But yeah, for now it's the wonky.
Yeah, the workaround is, as Afid Twitch mentioned, careful warehouse play.
Yeah. But yeah, we have that on we even attempted to fix that at some point, but we still need a bit more time.
Okay, so before we move on to the Unity question, we never did that. Like, we never had a conversation about things other than the game itself. Why not change it? Maybe that's something that you like, to hear our opinions about things. I don't know, Eremite Games podcast coming or something. Games. I know that Aaron would love to have it. But before we do that, just a little reminder, as always, the update is going to be released tomorrow between 1 p.m. and 3 p.m. UTC. Sometimes it happens a little bit later, around 4 p.m. UTC. Depends on how long does it take to upload the build. But yeah, this is the time frame, and your current settlement will need to be force finished, but you will be reimbursed with Citadel resources that you'd get for winning the game. We are good guys. We don't steal Citadel resources and time from you. But yeah, if you are in the middle of a game during which you want to finish some deed, then you should better do it before the update goes.
Yeah, and we also changed a few updates ago. There was an issue where you didn't get the real resupplies, for example, your bonuses for a cycle didn't stay. Now it should be fixed. I think we changed that on update or.
Yeah, so that's it for everyone who just wanted to know what's going to happen in tomorrow's update. Remember to finish your settlements, and also remember to share your feedback about the new update. What do you like? What you don't like? What do you like to see changed? Yeah, this helps us a lot. And of course, as always, share your honest reviews on Steam, Epic, or GOG. It also like gives us a better understanding of where we are and what's next for the game. Yeah. Okay, and so there was a question about what are our thoughts about the new Unity policy. So for those of you who don't know, first thing, Against the Storm is made in the Unity game engine. It's one of the two major engines on the market. The other one is Unreal Engine. We also have Godot, Source,
Default, Game Maker, yeah, but
the two main ones are Unity and Unreal Engine. Against the Storm is made in Unity. This is the one that we have most experience with. Hurin was developing games in Unity for 8 years. Damian was making visual assets for Unity games for also like 8 years. So this is the one that we feel most comfortable with. And yesterday there was a big announcement about the pricing change for Unity games. So basically what it means that after achieving some monetary and install thresholds, Unity will start charging developers fees for game installs. So what happens is that once we cross the certain threshold, it's a quite big one, and that's also important to remember. It's a big threshold, unachievable for most indie games. Once you pass that threshold, every install will cost the developer. So no matter if you launch the demo or a full game and you uninstall it and install it again, it will cost the developer. So this is of course very unwelcome change for many developers, and
it's very weird.
To be honest, also for us, it's difficult for developers, and you will see a lot of articles about it in game media, because this change was very badly communicated. There are a lot of questions left unanswered, especially the main one is, how does Unity track all those installs? And is there anything that end users can do anything about it? So, because this will obviously have leave some cookies or track installs with AppsFlyer or.
Yeah, it's weird. It sounds like something someone came up with in the board meeting room and just slap it on there and put up the news. Not really something that sounds like sound reasoning person.
Yeah, but you shouldn't be worried about Against the Storm. We made some calculations, and it's not going to really hurt the game. I mean, unless you try to bomb the game with revenue bombing. So like there was review bombing. We'll have revenue bombing. Yeah. Selling the game.
Yeah, but in the end, it's very weird because it's not really about like what amount of money they take, because they could have just gone with the simplest solution possible. Unreal Engine simply takes a revenue split from you, so they take 5% after you reach a threshold.
It's important to note that still Unreal Engine's revenue share, those 5%, more than Unity charges, even with the new install cost.
But at the same time, it's a lot more clear. It's clearer. It doesn't have like this user tracking issues. It just is more understandable.
And also for developers, it's easier to put into business plans because you know exactly how much they'll charge you, 5%. While with Unity, it's a very convoluted system.
And they don't even want to say how they track installs. They don't know yet, but they don't want to outright say how they will gonna track that. If they're gonna use some third-party app, if they're gonna use some weird DRM and so on, they won't even say how they distinguish between pirated games, humble bundles, charity bundles, between games from Game Pass, for example. So, and all those things count as installs, but how do you differentiate them? Because we don't even know how many copies of Against the Storm are, for example, pirated, and how should they know that information? So it's very weird. It's very, I mean, for a company, it's not like this is gonna ruin something for us with this project, but it's something that makes us think about the future. And for example, when you think about future projects and future company development, it's something that where you just sit down and think, yeah, okay, this company isn't really reliable.
It's unpredictable.
You can't base your future as a company, as a studio, on something that's so just unfriendly and weird and unpredictable. I'd rather go with a higher cost and a lot of predictability and a lot of cool features of Unreal Engine than base my future around something that is so outright mind-boggling.
Yeah, so this is why you can see a lot of upset on Twitter or X and other social media and in all the gaming news websites. So this conversation will continue to happen. It doesn't look good for Unity, honestly, mainly because of the poor communication. But yeah, cost-wise, it's not going to hurt us that bad. I think mobile companies will be more affected by this change. There was one question in the chat, a little bit related. Is there a way to prevent piracy? Not really. I don't think so. It's not always, and for example, we don't really chase pirated copies, mainly because it's
expensive, basically. Because if you put in DRMs into your games, it's hurting the normal users more than the pirates. They can just crack that in a few days, and the normal users suffer performance decreases and weird, like even software that is trying to protect the game from pirating, but is outright almost like malware in some cases, where they just like have root access to your system. So it's not something we would like to do, basically. And you have no other like ways of combating piracy. Some games do some cool stuff, like The Witcher, for example, where they had like special versions of the game with changed assets. Or
I think there was in Witcher 2 there was a special boss. That would kill you.
I think in Game Dev Tycoon they had like this one mechanic where your game could be your company. This is a game dev simulator game, and your company was after some point losing money because of pirates, and people were like writing on forums, why is this game so unbalanced? Why am I losing money because of pirates? And it turned out that this was an anti-piracy measure. So yeah,
there are some like small things that developers can do. So there's this DMCA thing that you can always file against the website that stores an illegal copy of the game, but it's time consuming, and we just don't do this, and also pirates don't keep up with the pace of our updates. I'm tracking all the pirated copies, and they just don't keep up with our pace.
Yeah, every 2 weeks you have to upload the new version.
At some point they realize it's better to have the game on Steam with a constant up-to-date flow of updates. So that's it. It was a very cool question. It was nice to share our thoughts. We'll monitor the situation. You probably will as well. We'll see how things turn out. But anyway, you shouldn't be worried about the state of the game. It won't affect you in any way.
Yeah.
We won't delete the demo because it generates installs. I mean, I say it right now because I don't know how much they'll charge us, because we don't know, and they won't tell. But for now, we don't plan to remove the demo. Yeah, so thank you all for joining us today. I hope you had fun learning about the new features coming in the update, learning our perspective on recent industry news. We wish you a great day and see you tomorrow when the update goes live.
Yeah. Thanks for watching.
Bye-bye.